Oh. Actually, it's gonna be, I'm sure it's like, so. Tomorrow or something. Because also I have no idea about that. But you can do this. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Sure.
Maybe like
Sammy, so Sammy 8 p.m.
and so I haven't like I still don't know anybody, you know. Yeah. They taught so random.
Okay. No, what? And then I'm gonna. I have not heard of that. I've been getting good reviews. Dude, I'm gonna wait a month to make right. Good month.
Now,
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. So.
yeah. That's very different. Yeah.
No, those. I've done it like 6 times or so.
Yeah.
And yeah, just. Yeah, like.
No. It's fine if she's not.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, Brant is.
Yeah. Ingrid.
Yeah, yeah.
Sitting there. Okay.
But it's.
You're ready to be able to. Okay. Rest of the crowd is here. I was trying to delay coverage. And we saw violence. But... Oh, all right. Right. We have heart-shaped pizza for you. And the reason we bring the cups, but there's nothing in them, because it's illegal for us to bring bottles. So you can take a cup and go to the hydration station right outside the door here, and all the water you want. All right. So tonight we're going to. All right. So tonight we're going to talk about one of the most important things. Never plan to enter an accelerator. The Long Beach Accelerator is going through the admissions process for its 6th cohort. And one of the things everybody on the admissions committee looks at is how accurate, how realistic did the startup estimate their ham, Sam, and song. Right? So after tonight, you will be able to margin of error no more than 10. Be able to estimate your ham, Sam, and song. Right? So that is important if you plan to ever start a business, or if you're just looking at your own company that you're working for, what is the market potential of that company? Right? So tonight we have two experts that together have created one heck of a slideshow. So we will turn it over to them to entertain you to ask a lot of very difficult questions. And one last thing, if anybody's missing a grade or whatever this is, it was left on the bus in Zurich.
Oh,
Okay?
how did it make its way here?
Maybe it belongs to the tour guide lady.
All right. All right.
Yes, it's fine.
Rob.
No. Did you bring it from CSULB?
No, Lindsay brought it back.
Okay. So you said a roadshow. So Nicollette Brant is the research librarian. She's here to help you guys through all this. She's an expert at this. Her focus is business and economics. So all the different databases that we have access to, she knows them inside and out, and she will take you through them. I'm just going to set a little bit of the context, and as Wade said, her and I do have a roadshow. We also do a similar, just a little bit more in depth, but a similar roadshow with the Long Beach Accelerator. Done 6 cohorts.
Yeah.
So anyways, this is, we're going to start out. You have these slides. And so what we're going to do is go through the market research slides first. Then she's going to work with you. And then at the very end, I'll take you through a little bit of the basics to do low fidelity prototyping, because you're going to have to come up with some form of prototype for your product or service. But it's the reason we call it low fidelity is that it's very basic. It's mainly drawing. And there's a couple platforms that you can use to do this. So, and I'll show you a few of these platforms and what you can do with them. Okay, so market research. How many people like market research? Okay. All right. So I put this slide up here, but Nicollette is going to take you through it. This is the slide from a previous. We did one that I think the first one we did.
Yeah.
All right. You guys have already done this part. I just want to review this and then we'll get right into the most important part. Basically a situation analysis. This is when you were trying to decide last semester. What were you going to do? What kind of industry were you going to be in? You had an idea for a product. You do remember the diverge, that sort of snaky thing that Steve had you doing all semester. Okay, so this is the sort of the underlying foundation to it, is understanding what's the industry out there, how can you create a product or come up with a usable idea that is based in something that consumers want. So you need to understand the industry, okay? So, and this is just, I'm not, slide deck is in your beach board course. So the important part, a competitor analysis. Yeah.
And if you're not in the course, you get the deck online. It will be posted at the institute.
All right, so what we're going to do now is focus on competitor analysis, and then that nice little Tam, Sam, and song that Wade brought up. So competitor analysis. So how many of you have thought about who your competitors are? Do you have competitors out Sandy,
Yes, yeah.
you have. And you know who they are. You're
Yes.
clear, but you're gonna wanna know more, a bit more in-depth information, because that's what, Nicollette is gonna help you do. And so, somebody had their hand up in the back. So you know, you've done some competitive analysis. Okay. So for those of you that haven't done it yet, you'll be doing it. Basically, what you need to find out here is if there's a market for your product. And so you want to be able to figure out if there's a product out there and you're doing something that's similar to it, does that mean you throw away the idea and say, no, I'm not going to do it because somebody's already doing it? Is that what you should do? Tony, what should you do?
You should find a way to improve that idea and make it more effective.
Exactly. So you want to find the gap out there. What's the gap? And how do you find out what the gap is? And this is what we've talked about, is understanding your target audience too, your target market. So understanding if there's a gap out there, are there customers out there that are willing to buy or to use that service or product that you've come up with that idea? Okay, so that's part of your competitive analysis. So, one of the things that you can do is kind of looking at your competitive environment, and this is just one way to look at it too, so that you get all of on this side, you have all the potential, and this is just an example, but all the potential products that are out there, brands that are out there and what they do. And then across the top, those are important benefits that customers look for. What you want to do is you want to find out where your product, and we have our product there, how does it rate on all these different dimensions compared to all of your competitors? And when you figure that out, you know if there's a potential for a gap here that you can fill. And this is just for growing plants. Okay, and this is another way to show it. And we talked about this last semester. Remember, we talked about a perceptual map so that you see, here's your product here, here's your competitors, and that's where we had before, all Miracle Grow, all these Click and Grow. And here's what's a gap, which is easy to use, and it's a single product service. So there was nobody in this quadrant, which basically tells you you've got an opportunity here. All right, now the real work. What Wade brought up, we talk about TAM, SAM, and SOM. So you have all this information, okay, on your beach board course. And I'll click on one of these to take you through it quickly. Basically, what we're looking at is, there we go. I put a visual in there because it's probably easier to understand this from a visual. So we've got this entire market here, okay? And when you think about, you've got a product like, you guys are looking at the book. Book social, okay, looking at that. So what you do for TAM, what you're looking at is what's the entire market?
It's all readers.
All readers, okay, everybody that's a reader all over the world. So when you're starting to create your marketing strategy and what you're going to do, are you going to try and target all of those people? When you're first starting out, yeah, it's too much. Remember what I've talked to you about in terms of when you start thinking about who your target market is, you should pick one to start out with, because we don't want to get really complicated. So we want to start out with one, and then you can build off of that. So we've got TAM here. It's the entire potential revenue that you can get if you can grab the entire market, okay? Then the next one up is that's when we start to segment the market. Okay, so this is the next largest part of it, the serviceable addressable market. And that's when you start to segment the market. Okay, so now let's say you have 6 or 7 segments, and then you calculate what is the potential for each one of those segments. But you guys are a startup, and you have to go even smaller. So you need to look at what is one target market or one target segment that can provide you with enough revenue, market potential, and we call that the serviceable obtainable market, because it is a market that's small enough to where you can get it, you can obtain it, you can get those customers, but it's enough to provide you with revenue so you can actually start your business and you're in business. Okay, so as you grow, you're going to go further down. You're going to start to add more segments into that. for the purposes of what you're doing for the Innovation Challenge and as a startup, you're focused on what we were calling the song. Okay? Questions? Okay. So your target market, and this is just a quick review. I know you guys have done your personas. I know you have to have a good, clear description of what your target customers are. Okay, and that's another piece of this puzzle. Because the only way that you can figure out how much market potential you have out there is you have to have a clear description of your target market. All right, so that's why I put so much emphasis on your persona and also a lot of emphasis on going out and talking to 5 consumers that you believe are in your target market. Okay, which means coming up with a set of questions, sitting them down and talking to them, asking them these questions. And one of the tools you're going to have is your prototype, because you're going to want to put it in front of them. You're going to show it to them and say, this is what we have. This is what we do. Is this something that you would be interested in? Would you use it? What would you do differently? And find out this information from them. So this is all involved primary research, not secondary. You're going to learn all about secondary research from Nicollette. And this part that I'm talking about is primary, because you're actually collecting data. Okay. And MVP, I'm going to stop here because then I'm going to take you to, after we're done going through. All right.
All right, cool. Thank you, Ingrid, for setting that up. Okay, so hi, everybody. I'm Nicollette. I'm a librarian for business and economics here at CSULB. So we'll be taking you through some of the resources that we have that are going to help you figure out your market. And how many of you are familiar with the databases that we have, like Statista, or which databases have you all used in business classes? OneSearch, okay. OneSearch is good. We have IBIS World, we have Statista, we have PitchBook, we have Mergent. Any of those sound familiar?
It's just this.
Okay, yeah, that's a big one. So OneSearch is something that a lot of students use, but the business data or the business reports doesn't come up in OneSearch. So the thing about our databases is that business information, proprietary information, is very expensive outside of universities, outside of, wherever you can get access to a database. And market research report can be, $3,000. So here we have many of those for you to use, which is really cool. And we're going to be going through those. So you all have defined kind of a target market, or like an audience, or like a potential kind of customer or potential market. Okay, and you have your industries pretty clearly defined. What are some of your industries?
Grocery store.
Grocery stores, okay. Anyone else?
Books.
Books. Music, okay, music, books, grocery stores, okay, cool. Wellness. Wellness, good one. Fashion, okay, cool. All right, so a lot of diversity here, I love it. So I'm going to be taking you through these resources. You can do a top-down analysis of your TAM, SAM, and SOM. That's basically taking the largest number and then kind of narrowing it down. So that approach is really good for secondary research. Secondary research is beneficial in business because primary research, like market validation, is also beneficial. But if you can get secondary research, you can save some money because market validation, it costs money, right? So if you can find it secondary information, freely available, then that's going to kind of save you a little bit of money and save you a little bit of time because someone else has already done the research. Although it's very likely that since you have such a unique product and you don't really want to exactly replicate, what other people have done, that you're going to have to make some, creative connections between reports and the secondary research that you find. So being innovative and being creative is Those are two top skills, you know, that are valued out there in the business world. So that's kind of what you're gonna have to bring to this secondary research. You're not really probably gonna find a one report that's just gonna give you like everything that you want. So we're gonna kind of have to be creative a little bit and innovative with that. So now let's just get down to it. So everyone open, this is gonna be hands-on, very hands-on. You're actually gonna be going through these databases that we have. So everyone take out your laptops or whatever device that you have and go to Google. And you Google the CSULB library. If you have your single sign-in open, there's a university library widget that you can click on. But this is the university library homepage. Is anyone familiar with this homepage? Yes. Cool. Has anybody ever been into a research guide before? Totally fine. So a research guide, we have so many different databases, over 300 databases. Librarians use research guides to kind of divide all the databases up into different disciplines, so that way it directs you into the right databases to use. So I want everyone here. Is everyone here? Raise your hand if you're not here. You're not here? Okay. So we'll wait just so that way everyone's on the same page. But when you're on here, you can click research guides. So click research guides when you're on this page. Good? Okay. Let's click research guides. Out of these subjects, which one do you think you're going to click?
Business.
Business, yes. All right. All right, so click on my name right here. I have to add it to this, the research guide to this list, but click on my name. And go down to Innovation Challenge at CSULB, and then click this. You're going to want to bookmark this because this is going to give you the direct links to the databases that we're going to be going over today. So click on Innovation Challenge. Does anybody need me to go over that? Path? No? Okay. So is everyone here? Yeah? Anyone not here? Okay. So basically this has different tabs. We're going to be going over markets for the most part today. But each tab kind of has something different in it as far as library resources go, or university resources. And each of them, so each of these boxes is a different database, and there are videos here to kind of explain how to use them if you forget after today, or if you need a refresher. So each of these tabs have a different database in it and some different videos right here. But we're going to start with markets right here. So does anyone have experience, trying to figure out a TAM-SAM or something? So we're going to start with the largest number basically, and we want to find information on, so that just means like your industry, like the broadest kind of definition of your industry, right? Probably globally, if you really want to, make sure to keep your options open as far as future kind of developments. So let's go to PitchBook. We're going to start with PitchBook. All right. Okay, so this is going to have you create an account. So PitchBook is a really new database to the scene. Not a lot of universities have it. I think only us, maybe Irvine, like Stanford, Harvard, Yale, like very, very, prominent universities. And we're lucky enough to have it. They mostly service venture capital kind of pursuits. but we're looking at. So what you're gonna want to do is create an account first. So you have to click create an account, put in your student email and password, create a password, and then it's just gonna have you validate your account through your email, and then you can log in. So PitchBook is technically a venture capital database. But it's expanded to include a lot of market research resources, just because in the process of collecting all their data, they've done a lot of market research. And so for the past few years, they've been adding that to their database. So I'm gonna put in my information. Has anyone been able to log in yet? So this is PitchBook. They're always adding new things. So I think they added something new just the other day and I haven't looked into it yet. So maybe we're gonna find something very brand new in here today. But I know they just added something. So they actually have market size estimates in here. So this is really cool for finding your large.
We had to go through a few more steps to get
Yes, oh, sorry. Yes, have you made it to the main PitchBook page? This one? Okay. Is anyone not here? Okay. Anyone having trouble? What's the trouble? Sometimes it's a little weird. Okay, you're reading on the email. It might be because a lot of people are creating their account at once right now. While everyone's waiting, or while we're waiting for people to log in, I'm just gonna click on this because I haven't seen, this is new, the portfolio forecasting. I want to see what it is. Is anyone still waiting for their account?
Check spam. Mine was under spam.
Oh yeah, try spam, that's good. Keep still waiting for their account. Waiting for your account, okay. So while we're waiting for everybody, I want you all just kind of do some exploring here. There's a lot in PitchBook to uncover. So the thing about PitchBook, what makes it unique is that it's really difficult to get a hold of any information on private companies or startups. So a lot of publicly traded company information is available because they're mandated to make that information public, but private companies aren't. So it's historically very difficult to get any information on Twitter. But since PitchBook is a venture capital database and it's used by investors to invest in companies, startups and private companies, they want their information on here because they want investors to find them. So it's not going to be as, so if you're researching like a specific company on here, which you're not, you're going to be researching a market, the information won't be as robust as it would be if you were looking up a public company, but it's still here. And there's a lot here, you know, that you can move forward with if you do move forward with your business idea, because you can find actual investors here, because investors are in this database. And you can see who's currently investing. You can see investors in Long Beach specifically. You can get down really, really nearly. All right. Go to, so you're on the same page, everyone go to the market size estimates. Before we had PitchBook, doing a market size estimate was much more difficult, but with PitchBook, it makes it a little bit easier. You still want to, no matter what, find multiple sources for your estimates, because you want to be able to kind of cross-reference those. So you want to make sure that you have multiple sources that are telling you the same thing. You don't want to just rely on one source, but this is a good one. All right, so everyone in here, I want you to type your industry in. Or if you have something, or yeah, your biggest industry like fashion. So I'm going to use fashion here.
Book service. Book service. Yes, I put book and suggested markets and book service industries. Okay. Yeah, that works. Oh, yeah, online service. That's an even better.
Does anybody have any questions? I'm here. Has everyone found their industry? Anyone have any trouble? So you can also add markets here. So say I'm doing fashion, but I also am doing tech. I'm doing fashion tech. You can add that market here as well. I'm gonna get rid of that and just do fashion. So here you have these different filters. So you want to keep it global because we're talking about the largest market here that you can address. You also have the year over here. And you also have the source. So PitchBook is actually, what they're doing is they're getting different sources that have already kind of calculated this market estimate, and they're putting it together here in this database. So here you have those different sources. Different sources might give you different numbers. For example, for here, they're getting this research from CSULB, from all of these different places. And then here is their estimated market size estimate. They also have CAGR. And you can play around with this. It's very interactive. So you can select different kind of things in the chart. If you click on one of those links, it'll take you down here, like the estimates for 2022. These are the sources, and these are the estimates that these different sources are giving you. Does anybody have any questions?
How many years estimates?
It depends. It depends on the industry. So fashion is, has been around for a long time. So it just depends on how long there have been reports on it. Every industry is a little bit different. Fashion has quite a few, but it looks like it's only going back to 2016. So I'm gonna assume that there's nothing really, that none of the industries are gonna have anything probably prior to 2016. But some, you know, 1 year, sometimes there's 2 years. For this one, there's many years, but it depends.
I think PitchBook exists first.
No, we did not. All right. So what are some of the market estimates that you're all coming up with? For this large global, what is PitchBook telling you?
7 billion. 1 billion-ish.
Okay,
811 billion.
go on.
There's only a number for 20 for our industry.
Yeah, see, that's the thing is that we're gonna have to, for whatever specific like business you have. That's what's fun about business research for me is that it's so different, you know, depending on whatever it is that you're looking at. But if you're in that kind of scenario, then we'll have to find other like different kinds of sources and be a little bit creative with those sources. But what's your industry?
Wellness travel.
Wellness travel. You probably just want to keep it to wellness because that's just going to be like your broadest kind of market right now. So I would start with just wellness and then we'll add the travel. I'm sure there's more than one for wellness.
Yeah, we did wellness tourism, now it's different. There's more.
Yes. Here's wellness. So that's another thing about researching in databases, any kind of information. Information, you know, there's not like one universal word to describe everything, even though for business, information is usually standardized through codes like for different industries. But since there's so many, you know, now emerging industries, those emerging industries haven't been classified or identified as having like one very, you know, strict code yet, and they probably won't because it's, you know, business moves too quickly. So you might find something for, you know, travel tourism, or sorry, wellness tourism. You might find something for wellness travel. So you're gonna have to look at those, you know, and kind of compare them and see what makes sense for you. Like there's wellness, alternative health, corporate wellness, all this stuff. So there's a million different ways you can kind of describe these emerging industries. You can describe your industry.
Do they have documentation as to how they estimate the trend?
Yes, so when you click on one of the, that's very good question. So if you're presenting something to an investor, they're going to be very, very, you know, they're going to probe you about where you got your information from. Getting your information from a database like PitchBook, PitchBook's not really, unless you're doing the venture capital side, unless you're like citing one of their actual market research reports, it's not really a source of information. It's more of just like a portal to information. So you're going to want to make sure that you identify what the source is. And I guess one of the struggles with that is that they're going to link to sources that you may or may not have access, like direct access to, just because, again, like I said, a lot of business information is proprietary. So we'll try to see which ones here. So if you click on one of these years, like the estimates for 2025, PitchBook is showing you where it's getting those sources from, or what the sources are. So this source is McKinsey & Company. Has anyone heard of McKinsey & Company? Yeah. Well, they do a lot of research, a lot of primary research. So McKinsey & Company would be, you know, would be kind of like a source that you can cite, right? Like they did this kind of market research and this is what they came up with. A lot of McKinsey & Company reports though are not free. So we have to click on this to see if we can find the original report or if the original report is available to us. Sometimes they are. All right, so this is the page that it's linking to, and I'm guessing this page is summarizing this report because this isn't the report. So you have to go to this site and you'd have to try to find the original source of information. So everyone try to click on one of those. Everyone click on one of these. And then I'll show you how to try to find that information. So click on one of these things here, one of the sources of information. Maybe it will take you directly to the report, but in certain circumstances, it doesn't. It's just, it found that information through a website that's referencing that original report. So you always want to cite when you're presenting to investors the original source of information, the original source of data, the report that data came from. So even though like trade, this is probably a trade publication, are really helpful for staying, up to date with whatever is going on in the industry. They're not like the authoritative source of the information. So you want to be able to track that. So in the case of this is citing a report from McKinsey. So we have to find the name of the report, but I'm guessing it has something to do with wellness. So you're going to have to do a little investigation here. They're tracking global wellness. Okay, so it looks like there's something called Global Wellness Institute. So it looks like they're probably citing multiple sources. So you can come here and see that this institute created a report. And it looks like this is a summary of the report right here. This report was created in 2021. And I'm guessing if we click on this, it's going to ask us to buy it. Oh, download free coffee. You're probably going to have to enter your email address and all this stuff. Yeah. So sometimes you'll be allowed to download like one free copy of something. They're trying to get you to subscribe to the product. So be very, very picky. I guess you can create multiple emails. You can be creative, resourceful, but try to be aware that sometimes there's a limit to how many downloads that you can make, if you're on a site. So has anybody been able to find, I want some original source of information that Statista or that PitchBook is citing? Has anyone been able to find like an original report? Yeah.
I know that our database and someone will pass paywall. There are some sources that.
Yes, so because I'm here, I know that we don't have McKinsey like in the library. That I don't think they ever offer that. I'll take you like to databases that do have like the direct source, like you have direct sources, but we're just gonna try this one first just to see, what's out there. We do have databases that are just like databases of, direct market research reports. But you can't get just like any market research report from the library. It's not like interlibrary loaning a book, that you can do, but for market research reports, it's one of the, kinds of information that they're not just gonna like, oh yeah, we'll get this. Because it's usually like $3,000 per one. So again, to try to find those original reports, you're going to, here on the market size estimate, you're gonna click one of these. Or you can just scroll down and you can just see what the original sources of information are. Some of them are using like annual 8Ks, this is submitted to SEC. So anything you see with the SEC, that's going to be publicly available. Is anyone familiar with government filings? Yes, you are. Probably. Yes. Okay, what government filings are there?
Security Commission team, so all of like their public financial reports, so anything balance sheets, cash flow, income statements.
Yeah, and private companies don't have to, they don't have to, submit these, but public companies do, and they're quite the source of information. You can find a lot in these reports. It's not just finances. There's a lot of stuff in there. But anything you see with SEC is going to be public information. So you can click that and it'll probably take you directly to the report. A 10K is an annual report, so that's going to be the one with the most information. But like anything here, so you can look at these different things, newswire, this is a newswire, so you know that's news. So it looks like it's getting most of these from like trade journals or newswires or newspapers, and also SEC documents. Reports. So everyone try to find one of the original pieces of information. Do a little investigating. Click on one of these links, see where it takes you, and then see if you can find the primary source of information. Yeah. Yeah, HTTP, yeah. So I'll show you just so you know what an original report should look like. Go to McKinsey. Some of their reports are available online. I think if we go to featured insights, these are the ones that will possibly be available. Has anybody been able to find an original report yet?
Sometimes I can't tell if it's like the actual six or not.
Yeah, I'm trying to find, let me actually just go to.
So.
Right, so usually this is what report looks like. So an original report will usually be in a PDF. Usually delivered as a PDF, and it's usually pretty long. Has embedded graphs, charts, all of this stuff like this. And then they will also sometimes have all these sources that they use, endnotes. All of this stuff, and they'll probably usually have their methodology. So if you find an original, so usually an original report is going to have a methodology section if they're being transparent about how they're collecting their information. So those are some of the kinds of things that you're going to want to make sure that you have in original report. Does that give you a better idea of what a report looks like? All of this stuff. Okay. Yeah. I'll use some other tricks too as we kind of go along. Does anyone, are you all have kind of a clear, just like baseline of what the large TAM is just from that pitch book thing? All right. Okay, cool. So now we're going to narrow that down a little bit. So now you want to apply like your specific market to that. So everyone should kind of have a loosely defined market that they're trying to reach. So say that your market is in the United States, maybe it's in Long Beach, you know. So try to add those geographical kind of filters, age filters. So for example, say fashion, say, you know, the total, well, for fashion, what was the total addressable market that you found? The number, the revenue. I think someone has fashion in here.
The market size
Yeah,
was around
4 trillion. Okay. So what are your how are you going to narrow that down? Like what's kind of your market constraints?
What do you mean?
Like what's your demographic? What are like the geographic demographic?
For our initial targeting young adults to 30-year-olds.
Gen Z and the millennials.
Hmm?
Gen Z and the millennials.
Okay, Gen Zs and millennials. So now you're gonna have to try to find what percentage of the fashion market do Gen Zs and millennials like pick up? Yeah, hold. And then also you can apply the geographic kind of, you know, filter. So are you starting in the United States? Are you narrowing down from global to the US? Are you narrowing down from global to California? Like what are those kind of, I guess, aspects? So anybody else? Like what are the kind of demographic, geographic? This is when you want to start adding some of those.
Southern California colleges in Southern California and college or young readers like 18 ages older ages. And that was like 14 or something. So like younger segments.
Okay, cool. So let's, and what's your
Okay.
industry? Book industry?
Yeah.
Okay, so now we can belong to some other databases and so we can calculate the next level, which is understand. So we have those in mind and we're going to get a little bit more specific here. You can try to use the PitchBook market size estimate to kind of narrow this down a little bit. I take you to another database just so you get some experience with it. So we're going to go to the 2-step. So everyone can go back to your guide and go to Statista.
We never performed that.
I know, did you still like that? Okay. Thank you. I was thinking that I was gonna have to log in again. And also think about your product. So for the book, one, what's your product?
We're doing like a social media online service. It's an app
Okay,
where people can get together and do discussions on books and review them.
okay. So it's an app. So it's kind of like,
Similar to Goodreads.
yeah, Goodreads?
Yeah.
Okay, what's the difference?
we don't like the UI, so like the interface is outdated in our
Okay,
opinion. and
yeah.
Also like the statistics and the way they go about creating book club, group chats. One.
You want more intuitive kind of interface, okay. So you got the largest kind of book market, right? What percentage of that market is that product segment? So that's something that you kind of want to try to determine. And so we'll go over like that. So like what percent of that market is not buying books, but you know, engaging with like discussion and things like that. Because it's on a platform where you're reading, right?
Right.
Okay, it's just like a good reads, okay, kind of thing. Okay, so in order to do that. We need to find out how many people, and do you have an age limit?
It's below 30 right now.
Okay. Below 30, and then do you have a geographic?
Southern
Southern
California.
California? Okay, so you need to find out how many people below 30 have access to the internet. Okay. Because your product is going to depend on people having access to it.
Yeah.
So does it also require a smartphone? It's an app, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you need to see it who has a smartphone. Yeah, okay. And then that's how you're gonna narrow it down. So we could do that in Statista. So I'm gonna go into Statista and I'm gonna put, let's see. So again, with these databases, you're gonna have to play around with your keywords a little bit. Sometimes the first kind of search that you do doesn't work. So let's try to do smartphone and then access, I don't know. So we'll do smartphone users in the US, 2009 to 2014. So who uses a smartphone? This isn't taking age into consideration. So what Statista does, Statista is also an aggregator of data. They're not doing, it looks like for in this instance, this is an eMarketer report. But I think it's in collaboration with Statista Digital Market Insights. So this would be the original link when we talked about getting to the original source of information, that link is right there. So this one's not really taking into the number of smartphone users by age. So I'm going to try to add that. So smartphone. And then if we can't find it, then we're going to have to just do the math. There are smartphone users in the US by age and brand. And then we also have smartphone, okay, we'll do this one. Smartphone ownership in the US by age. And then we have these 18 to 29, 30 to 49. So this would probably be a market, 18 to 29.
Yeah.
Okay. So basically, what you're going to try to want to do is figure out, take that larger number that you have about for the market, and then so we probably want to take this total number. Basically, you want to subtract from that like larger number. How like what's the market size of the this is like it's like hard to do on the spot, but you have to think of creatively like how to figure out how to deduce that number from that larger number. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You kind of have to figure out that math.
You're referring to like the market, like within the market, like the percentage, is that right?
Yeah. Yeah, so you want to calculate the percentage of revenue that would be cut off by people that, by like the constraints, yeah. Yeah, so doing the math right now on the top of my head is difficult, but I'm gonna give you a few minutes to try to figure that out. And I'll try to think about it.
You find like the total population, which they surveyed, and then find the population.
Yeah, you want to find the total population, yeah.
That actually uses smartphones and then multiply that times our total population
Yeah.
on the other side.
Mhm. Yeah, so the total population who like uses books in the book industry. Yeah. Is anybody having trouble trying to conceptualize like what kind of layers you have to add to your? No? How are you guys narrowing it down?
Generational grocery shopping.
Okay, cool. So your largest one was just grocery globally?
Yeah.
Okay, and then how did you use Statista to find?
Yeah, I searched up Statista and then I searched up supermarket trends. And then from that, like gave like people stuff in the search bar and then it picks.
Okay, all right, cool. Anybody having any trouble? So you want to add here as many realistic components as you can. So if you have, you know, some kind of, you also want to add like your psychographic, your behavioral, like out of those smartphone users, how many of those users are interested in books? Right. So you're going to have to try to find out, you know, in that demographic, how many people engage in things. And there might be a report about Goodreads, like Goodreads, I don't know, you know, someone might have analyzed that data before, you know, what is the demographic of people who use Goodreads, broken it down by age. So you want to add all of those different kind of layers to get as close as you can to the actual market who would be interacting with your product. So it's not just geographic and demographic, it's also the like behavioral aspects as well. So how many people are books, and then, you know, not just read books, but how many people like to talk about books, right? So that's something that you're gonna have to figure out. And then, so you could try to use Statista for that. I think Statista would probably the best option to try to narrow down that kind of like, to that specificity, because Statista aggregates all that data from around, you know, the web. And it's pretty flexible with the search options. So you can kind of try different things, like different strings. So if we went to, and since there already is kind of an industry for smartphone, like people who are building kind of, I guess, products for people to engage with, like, you know, communicating, talking, building community around books, you're going to have to think about who would care about those statistics.
Right.
Is there like an association, an organization? If you can't find it through Statista, then you're going to have to figure out who would want that kind of, you know, data. But you can try to search the keywords here. So that's, now we're getting very specific. So now it might get a little bit difficult. Now you might have to try to go to the web. But we can try to find like, book readers by age. And so since we're doing this on the fly, you might have to readjust like the way that you break it down. Maybe it makes more sense to start with books, then people who read books, then by age, you know, so like you're gonna, you know, so you're gonna have to structure that in a way that makes sense. But here's book readers in the US by age. So this is another statistic that you can use to figure that out. Right here. Let's see if we can, no, we're going to be able to find, let's look at No. You can try and see if Statista will have, like, you can play around with the keywords a little bit. Like, you know, let's look up good, let's see if they have any statistics on Goodreads. Okay, so here's Goodreads number of registered members. So that this means because they have the number of registered members, I don't think that Goodreads, like when you register, I don't think that it asks you what your age is. So that might not be, you know, but someone might have done another like survey on that. And so you can use Statista to kind of get those. We look at Statista age. So with Statista, you're just going to want to play with your keywords a little bit. Is anybody having trouble finding additional information, like that kind of more narrow information? Now's your chance to speak up. What are some of the, so was everyone able to find at least like a geographic kind of statistic or number that would help them narrow it down? What about a demographic number? What about a behavioral number? Okay, what's the demographic number that you're using?
So we'll have, it breaks down into population by generation.
Okay, population by generation.
Yeah,
Cool.
and then breaks it down into grocery store sales.
Uh-huh.
And then it goes to grocery store sales by generation.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else? How do you guys back there?
During the, we wanted to, one portion of it is that, we have, this is the business, we have a small home business island. So that's not a, some consumers. Without more constraint, geographic focus here in Long Beach area first. Maybe people that are willing to buy cosmetic line.
Okay.
Demographic, their age, and because we're kind of focusing on.
Yeah, have you found any statistics on Statista that would?
I mean, I thought this was one. That we're trying to find a personal care. How people are.
So you're looking for people who buy beauty products online?
Yeah.
So if we look for. Easy to find. So is your doing a Gen Z kind of demographic, or are you? Okay, did you look at this report?
I saw that.
Okay, so you can also look at the monthly spent on beauty product, oh wait, this is, yeah, online beauty products. The cosmetic and beauty retail email or e-commerce sales. So this should be a pretty, you know, that kind of number, a lot of people are going to be tracking that.
Yeah.
You know, so those kind of numbers, like if they're, those kind of going to be the ones that are widely available. You just have to think of like, who care about this, and like obviously a lot of people are going to care about that. There's a lot of businesses that sell beauty products online, but it starts to get a little bit more difficult when you start to narrow down a little bit. So another way that you can kind of try to figure that out, if you can't find anything, is looking at a company's report, annual report, a publicly traded company. So if there's a publicly traded company that's kind of similar to yours, looking at their 10K, looking at their annual report might help you narrow down those numbers or figure out what numbers they're using to narrow down to their numbers. So does anybody know of a competitor who is publicly, like a publicly traded kind of company? Hmm?
I don't know if they're public. I don't think they are. Yeah, you're right. No.
For the book app?
Yeah.
About maybe something, I don't know, something.
Oh, Stitch Fix? Oh, yeah. I think, I
Sorry, Nora, I was thinking about your contribution. And always
like so small standing here on the screen. So I'm spelling everything wrong.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Okay. So Stitch Fix, it is public. So you can go back to PitchBook to find information on like a competitor, because analyzing different competitors and their numbers is also going to help you kind of determine your market size. They're going to have some numbers that you might want to include. So if you go to PitchBook, annual reports are available to the public, so you don't have to use one of these databases to get them. They're available on the website, something called Edgar. So if you search Edgar on Google, you're going to find that publicly available. But PitchBook, since it's here and you have it, and they kind of put those numbers together, you can. I would suggest probably searching PitchBook. So here you have Stitch Fix right here, and then you also see that they have an e-commerce report when you look at this. So looking into this kind of like e-commerce report might be beneficial to you. So you want to gather all the data you can. That's going to help you kind of figure this out. So this is the e-commerce report that I found in PitchBook. Sometimes the PitchBook reports are going to be mostly focused on investment. So sometimes they might not work. But if you go to, so we're going to click on Stitch Fix or Stitch Fix. So I'm showing you an example of how to use a competitor's information to help you find, information for yourself. So this is on PitchBook. I just searched Stitch Fix in the search bar. So you come up here and PitchBook's going to give you a lot of information on this company. In the future, if you're trying to, when you're figuring out kind of your market strategy, things like that, they do have something called signals, and this tracks the social media interaction with this company. So here you have like the number of Twitter followers and everything. So that's not relevant for today, but I just wanted to point that out. It is a really cool thing. And you have a bunch of stuff here. Since Stitch Fix is a publicly traded company, you have more information, a lot of information. And here you see you have even transcripts of earning call transcripts that you can search by keyword. So if you want to search these by keyword, like market size or something like that, you can try to do that and see if they've talked about that on the phone. Of course, you can't cite, like that can't be one of your sources. If the investor asks you like, where do you get this number? Like a transcript, they were talking about it on the phone, that's what they said. But any kind of number will help you determine where to go to get like an official number.
Can you see the profits?
Yeah. So any you can get like ratios, ROI ratios and things like that. So any 10K is going to tell you that on a publicly traded company. So what these databases do is they sometimes looking through those reports can be a little bit cumbersome because they're long and difficult to figure out. So PitchBook and then also another database Mergent, if you go to the financials tab, this is going to have an interactive view of their most recent kind of reports. It's going to put it all together here. You have the balance sheet, you have the cash flow, you have estimates, and then you have things like the income statement, the balance sheet. Here you have ratios here. Excuse me, I clicked on the wrong thing. We have all these different options. So basically PitchBook is taking that data, the historical data, from multiple years and putting it together here instead of you having to find all of those different reports and then putting them together yourself. So you can find that information here. Does that make sense? Do you have any questions? All right, cool. Any other questions right now? We'll get you to the report. So in here, you're not really gonna be able to find anything because PitchBook's putting together, like in this interactive database, as far as the market size go, you're not gonna be able to find anything in any of these tabs because it's not getting the like textual kind of data that's in the annual report. It's just getting the numbers. But we want to see what they put like as far as context in the report. So what you can do is I'm on this company. And I'm gonna go back to their profile right here.
Go back to financial, if you would, for a minute,
Okay.
please.
Yes.
Click on ratios.
Yes.
This, yeah, I just wanted to point this out. You can look at these bigger companies and see what their ratios are.
Mhm.
Compare them to what you guys come up with in your projections. So when you're showing, 55% gross profit, everybody out here has got 30% gross profit. You might be overestimating. Just
A little bit.
just as a guy, so because when somebody says, well, how do you know you're gonna make that much? Well, this is the industry and we're below industry,
And you can actually do that you can actually generate a report where it's comparing multiple companies. Like you can select like a certain ROI or something or a certain ratio, and then have multiple companies over multiple years in the same report. So you don't have to like switch back between different companies and reports. So that's also something on PitchBook that you can do, which I'll show you later. You can do consultation, but it's probably going to take too much time to go over how to make a report. So back to the profile. So we'll go to a company's profile, and again, you can find annual reports on the web, but you could also find them here in Statista. So there should be something down here that says filing. You can go to filings and you can go to wherever it says 10K from 2022. We'll just find this one's from 2022. You can verify, it might not have been updated. So if there's a 2023 one, which 2023 just started, so I don't think that would be for the annual report. So I think this one would be the most recent one. This is what it looks like. Has anyone ever seen one of these before? Yes. Okay, cool. For all of you who haven't, it looks a little scary, but it's not. It's very, very useful source of information. So what you can do, they're pretty long. So what I usually do here is I just do a Control F search, and I'll search for the keywords that I want to find. Like if I want to find market, I'll go through there and I'll see if there's anything here. Also, different tabs might have something. So there's like a management discussion and analysis section. That section usually has a lot of really useful information. So you can try to find any kind of data here, any kind of things that they're discussing here that's going to give you information on how they're like what's affecting their market strategies, how they're, if their market size has grown or whatever kind of data that they're using right here. And you might be able to find out, let's see. Size. So just uploading. Might want to look at Target. I want everyone to find a 10K. Does everyone know of a public company that you can use to kind of base this on? Does anyone know a private company? Because if you don't know a public company, you might just not know that it exists. So another thing that PitchBook does is that it gives you a competitor list. So if you put a company like a startup, you also have some of who your competitors are. So if you put that startup in the search box, there's a tab that says competitors, and you'll get a list of competitors. So I want everyone to find a 10K. All right, so this is the kind of numbers that I'm talking about. So here, this is we're on Stitch Fix. they're saying, they're actually telling you approximately how many active clients they have. So that's a number that you can use to narrow down your TAM, right? Because that gives you the number. You don't have to go through all those, yeah, you can say like, okay, it looks like, and you might want to compare multiple 10Ks, because I know that Stitch Fix has competitors. So look at those 10Ks and see if they also say how many people have been engaging with their product. Because then you can get a good kind of I guess sense of how many people are going to engage with your product. So does that make sense? Okay. So any kind of numbers here, the amount of people, that they have, the amount of consumers that they're tracking that are using their product, you want to look for here in a 10K. So you can put clients, you can put whatever it is that you want to put in a Control F search, and then you can find that information here. Again, a lot of it's going to be under management discussion and analysis of financial conditions. That section is usually probably going to have the most information for you in regards to who's using, who's engaging with this. Has everyone found a 10K that they can search for just to get the hands-on experience? In a 10K, it'll also give you so much information, like an industry overview. So they're basically kind of doing, a lot of the work for you. They have a competition, section. They also sometimes will write about the different like forces that are affecting their business right now. Do you have a question?
Can you just show how you use it?
Yeah. Do you have a publicly traded company you're thinking about?
Yeah.
Which one? Amazon. Okay. So let's go to, so on the pitch book main page, you're going to go to Amazon. Put Amazon in the search bar. We'll see Amazon right here. Are you here? On this page, yeah, okay. So scroll down to filing. Okay, and then you're gonna see a 10K right here. Okay, so now, because Amazon has so many different product segments, this might be a little bit more difficult. I don't think they're going to discuss every single one, and then like the people that are engaging and everything. Plus, I have a feeling that Amazon might be a little bit more, I don't know, not as transparent with what they put in their 10K. But you could look up like user, go to the management section and see if there's anything there. All of this good stuff. And then if you can't find anything from Amazon, you can go to similar companies, and then you can try to find another company that you can do this with.
Any search a particular category in Amazon, like a e-commerce fashion?
So like a particular segment of their business. A certain, not, so let's see. So sometimes yes, sometimes no. So usually that would probably be in, where is it here? They sometimes have segments here. It might be on another database. See profile, and let's scroll down. Sometimes Amazon has so many segments that sure. Usually here on the profile page, if they do, they'll have like a segment heading. Here. Okay, so instead, we have another database that we could try. There's so many databases. So what I'm gonna do is, I'm on markets, but now I'm going to company on the research guide. No, sorry. I'm going to industry. So a lot of you said you were familiar with Iris World. It's to do more like segmentation. So I'm gonna search Amazon, and then yes, it does look like here they do break down the different segments. So they do have all of this information for this segment. They have the market share that Amazon has here. So you could use other companies or competitors' market share to try to evaluate your market share as well. And that's the next step, is the SOM. So after you've kind of gotten through all those layers, the last step is to try to calculate how much of that market you can realistically kind of get to. So you're likely to have competitors, so you're not going to be able to capture that whole 100% of the market. So if you're competing with Amazon, you know, how much of the market is Amazon going to take up versus you? So that's the last step, is try to figuring out, as assessing your competitors, how many competitors you have, what the rivalry is within that, you know, industry, and then trying to determine what percentage of that industry you think, or what percentage of that market you think you can capture. Does that make sense? Okay. So you can do that by looking at other similar, you know, market share kind of numbers. So Ibis World is a really good database for this. A lot of people just use it for industry, but their company analysis has come quite far, been pretty developed, and Ibis does more segmentation. So if you went to other other databases and searched Amazon, you might get like their market share for, like, I don't know, whatever industry it is that they're under now. I'm not even sure, like tech, whatever it is, e-commerce, I think that. Yeah, but this is kind of breaking it down. So you can look at other, you know, you have to look at total market share and then kind of see what percentage it is that you're gonna kind of make up of this right here. And then Ibis World also gives you not just Amazon's, but who else is kind of making this up. But huge company, other, like you notice your other is 81%, and then it has the other ones. So it doesn't break down what the other is that they're kind of referring to. So that's, you can go back to Statista now. So you have to like navigate through all these databases, you know, that's what like business research is just, there's so much different information, and because you're trying to always be innovative, there's just not going to be something that's like directly what you're talking about. But you can say, okay, there's like if Ibis World is defining this market as ebook publishing, I'm going to go to Statista. I'm going to look at the ebook publishing market and get more numbers from there, because it's likely that Statista might have something where it explains what that other 81% is. So you kind of have to be strategic with the way that you're going back and forth between these different information sources. So now we went back to Statista. We're trying to find what our share of that market is. Let's go back here and let's put in ebook publishing. This is my So this has how much, what the market share is of ebooks within the book, within book sales. So you might be able to use this to break it down just from that original number. And then if you get to a statistic like this, so the thing about getting to a statistic like this, even if it's not relevant to you, is that if it links the source, and if you're able to get to the source, that source is likely to have more information that is going to be relevant. Because this is who cares about this information. This is who cares about books. This organization is collecting this data. And then it'll also recommend like other kind of similar statistics to you for you as well. But you can kind of look through here. Again, research does take a while, so I can't like duplicate it exactly because I'll have to go through all of this different stuff here. But does anybody have any questions, or do you think you're going to struggle with finding like the market share or your competitors, kind of analyzing that and figuring out what your market share is within that market?
When it comes to quarterly statements under the SEC, is it 8K or?
The quarterly statement is a 4K, right?
Quarterlies are 10 Qs.
And Qs. The other ones are like investor
8Ks are major events.
major events. Okay. Who knows more? I pretty much only do the like deal with the 10K. I don't really go into the other ones that much. But I get 10Q. 10Q would be the quarterly. But each one could have valuable information for you. So any other questions right now, like about the databases? We've used this world to look up this like segmentation. We've used that to look up some of the behavioral or like how many people use this, how many people use this. We've used PitchBook to look up the big market size of something. Any other questions?
Just a comment. You get to the SOM level, what really differentiates startups is many of them, majority, will say, and we assume we're going to capture 10% of the market or 8% of the market. And so right there, they're telling you they didn't put any effort into finding local SOM. And if they're not putting any effort doing that, they've already put any effort into success.
Yes, exactly. And one more thing in PitchBook, now that you mentioned that, is you can do screeners and company searches based on either the company name or keywords that connect those companies. So say you're doing what would be kind of a more like for the book one, how would you describe like your sector or your segment?
So when we went on PitchBook, it's like online book services.
Online book services, okay.
Yeah,
That sounds like it could also describe like ebooks though.
a little bit, and it's a little vague. We found when we looked up Goodreads, we could find like similar competitors there and kind of narrow down the industry a little bit.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
That's another, so when you're developing your market size, you want to make sure that you have, the correct terminology so that we can look at all the data. And that's something that's really cool about PitchBook is because they're always doing research on emerging markets. Other databases are going to stick to the like main categories of industry. PitchBook is going to kind of, what they do is they always are putting in new verticals into their database. So they're trying to identify those like emerging kind of niche markets and then entering those keywords in here. So it'll help you kind of describe your industry a little bit. So even if you just look up Goodreads or anything like that, another company similar to yours, you go to Goodreads and you go to industries, verticals, and keywords, you're going to find things like Readers Network, books discussion, TMT. So they're going to have the kind of levels, like the primary industry and then the keywords. Sometimes the keywords are spot on. Sometimes like this, it's like, that exactly describes it, it's like not tech or whatever. But sometimes you'll find a word and you'll be like, whoa, I didn't know that there was a need for this, but there is. So you want to definitely look into that. And then if you hit one of these keywords, did you try selecting one of the keywords? Like Readers Network. So if you select one of those keywords, you're going to get a companies and deal search. But this is also going to kind of give you a little bit of information on how what the kind of profits altogether these companies are bringing in. So it can kind of help you figure out what market share that they have. And it has here, the different capital breakdowns and things like that. So that can also kind of help you as well. And I know I'm kind of taking a long time, but I just want to go through the screener. So if you're on the screener and you go to companies and deals, And say you want to do, give me another example of like a market or like a more specific than just the industry, like food tech or. Anybody in common?
Teletherapy,
Huh?
teletherapy.
Teletherapy, okay, there we go. Okay, so if I search teletherapy here, yeah, so I could put in teletherapy and then PitchBook's gonna give me suggestions. So online therapy program, health tech, you can put all of these together and I'm gonna do okay. And you can search, so this is telling me up here that there are 20,000 companies within this search. So maybe I can narrow that down a little bit. I don't know, I guess health tech would probably be a little bit bigger than that. So there's 181 companies it's identifying. I'm gonna search. So this actually gives me a better indication of my competitors, the number of competitors that I have within this very specific keyword. Right? So you can see all of this. It also gives you companies to watch. So if you think that you've identified your competitors, make sure to double check that in PitchBook. Because then you're gonna then your market share is gonna be off if you don't know who exactly your competitors are.
Their advice with like editor that we know on StoryGraph, they're really small. They're not on PitchBook.
They're not.
Yeah, no, they're very small, yeah, but
Really
they're
small?
close to kind of what we're doing as well, because they also are going up against the leads.
Okay, so I have, this is, I guess, I'm sorry, can I just take, I know that there's some other, okay, I don't think here. Okay, so this is the last, I guess, sneakier technique. I don't know if this is gonna work, but we'll see. So if you do a Google Advanced Search, has anybody ever done a Google Advanced Search before?
Yeah.
Okay, what do you usually search in the Google Advanced Search?
Whatever the market is.
Yeah, right, so we don't want-
For research.
Oh, yeah.
so how do you spell it?
Story, I mean,
Together?
Yeah.
All right, so let's see if this works. Normally, if there's any valuable information, it's in the form of a PDF. So I'm gonna put PDF and we can just do an advanced search. So here, is this the company? Story graphs? No.
The StoryGraph, is I think that's the.
Okay, so if it's the story graph, you put it in like this, because story graph kind of sounds like it could be like a data visualization, just like technique. So you put that in quotations because you want the story graph. Any other like kind of things that you can enter in here that's going to specify what that company is, you can put in here. Do you see anything? What does story graph do?
It's same thing with book reviews and they focus more on reader statistics. So like what genre you read, how many pages you read, things like that. Yeah, that's StoryGraph.
Okay.
But it's really small, so that's why I was just kidding.
Okay, so the only kind of technique I would do is probably put it in here.
We're gonna take them out. Next year.
All right.
Yeah.
So usually if there's any information that like a smaller company like that kind of gathers, it's gonna, little trickles of it are gonna end up on the internet. So if you do a Google Advanced Search and you put in information, like I put in the founder's name and the story graph, you can click on one of these and see if there's anything here. Like I think this is, I don't know, I know that the founder's name is mentioned in here. So in this, they might go over something. So that's one technique that you can use. I don't know if this leads, lead to anything or not, but I would say that that's probably, I think for a company that small, that would probably be the only, if something accidentally ended up here or like whatever they presented at a conference and gave, some of their whatever, presented about whatever, those presentations will might end up in the Google search.
Thank you.
Mhm. Yeah, or if they gave an investor presentation, that also might end up here. So you can search that, like you could search the company name and investor and see if you could find anything. Okay, because I'm being imagined this time, so. I'm curious. Yeah, I'm not sure. That would be fun. Okay, I think that's it. Sorry, we. All right. So now is on the research guide, if you go to the home page. Right here, there's book a Zoom consultation with me. So if you're struggling finding data or finding information, then you can always, because there's still even more databases that we didn't go over and didn't have time to go over. So you can always book a consultation with me there. Yeah. All right, guys, thank you.
Right. Any clients' questions? Next week. We'll talk about pricing. So all sorts of different options for pricing models.
Does everybody feel comfortable that they're going to be able to get the data that they need or information they need to narrow this down?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. All right.
Seriously, this is a real different.
I'll hang out here in case anyone has any questions.